Let us solve the exercise number 4 in the part A of C# and .NET Lab. The problem number 4 is as follows. Write a VB program to find the GCD and LCM of two numbers. Accept the input through the text box and display the result in a label. Also, validate for invalid input such as empty input, non-numeric and negative integer. So here we are supposed to find the GCD and LCM of two numbers. I will straight away go to the Visual Studio and I'm going to click on the file and I'm going to select the new option here, and under that I'm going to select the project. In the project dialog box, I'm going to select the Visual Basic because they said it has to be Visual Basic program. So I'm going to first select the Visual Basic, and under Windows you can select the Windows Forms. So this is the application that we are going to start, and during the lab you are supposed to give a proper name to your project, as well as you are supposed to store it at a proper location. But for the demonstration purpose, I'm going to just use the default name and default location. Let me click OK, and the Visual Studio is going to create the Windows Forms application project for me, and it's going to show me a form which is completely empty. And in this form we are supposed to do these things. That is, we are supposed to accept the input through the text box and display the result. So let's go and let's go to the toolbox. Again, if the toolbox is not visible to you, go to the project, and somewhere you are going to find under the view, you are going to find the toolbox here. So under the view you are going to find it. So here I'm going to select a label. You can just search for the label by scrolling down and you get the label here, or you can directly type it here and then say label and you're going to get it. Double click on the label and you will notice that the label is added. You can click on the label and then keep it at a comfortable position. In the same way, I'm going to click on the toolbox again and I'm going to search for the text box here, and you are going to see a text box. Just double click on the text box and the text box will appear. Then go back to your form and drag this text box and keep it in front of the label. Now instead of searching and wasting your time, you can click outside and drag. So as you drag out, you are going to select both of them. So this is how you are going to do it. Don't click anywhere. Click outside at a comfortable location. Click and drag up or down, anywhere you can do it. So from here also you can drag it. So you're going to select both of them. So click outside and then drag like this. So drag your mouse. You can select the label as well as text box. Once you have selected it, press down the control button and then look at the mouse pointer here. So this is for the movement. Okay, so click and hold down the control button and drag down and leave it. You're going to replicate both the label as well as the text box. Apart from this, I want a button, so I'm going to click on the toolbox and I'm going to search for a button, and I'm going to double click on this button. This button will appear somewhere. I'm going to click and drag without pressing the control. I'm just dragging it. This is just an ordinary drag. And now I want one more label. So instead of going there and searching for the label, I'm going to click on any of this label, press down the control button and then drag that label. So you notice that you see a plus sign there in the mouse cursor. That means it is going to make a copy of that control. Leave the mouse pointer first and then the control, and you have the design with you. So this is what you're going to design. So let me slightly reduce the size here and reduce the size from here also. So this is what you have. Now I am supposed to change the label here. So I'm going to click here on the label, right click on it, and then go to the properties. So right click on the label, that's the first label, and then go to the properties. So when you click on the properties, you get the properties box here, and I'm going to just type the text here as first number. So I'm going to say first number. That's enough for me, and I got the first number. Similarly, I'm going to click on the next one over here. I'm going to click on this one, second label, right click on it, and then say the properties. When you click on the properties, you get the properties dialog box. And for the second label, so this is the label number 2, you can see there, label number 2, I'm going to say this is second number. That's enough for me, and that I got the second number. If you want, you can just move this text box slightly this side and make it look neat. Now I'm going to click on this button and right click on it, and again, as usual, I'm going to go to its properties, and on the text here, you can type anything. I'm going to say compute. That's it, you have done with it. Okay, and this label that I have, the last label over here that I have it here, this label, I'm going to right click on it and then say properties, and I'm going to remove the text which is going to appear here. I'm going to just remove this text because it's not really required. So this is what you have, and if you notice that the text box is there, but it is going to be a difficult challenge. If you click outside, it's going to be difficult to figure out where is that text. Now suppose if you click outside, it's gone. Now where is the text box? How do you get the text box? The label. Now one thing is you just go to the properties. If you have this problem, just go to the properties and then click on this down arrow under the properties, and you will find the label 1, label 2, label 3. So if you don't find it, just click on this down arrow and this label. So just for your purpose, I'm going to just put a 0 there, just to show you that something is there, so that you know that the text box is there. So suppose if you want to get it, just go to the properties. Property window will be here, and then search for the label. This is also, you can do it, you can search for the label 3. Now few things that I'm going to do with this label 3, that is this result, is I'm going to go to its font, and I'm going to change the size of it as say 12, and I'm going to make it as bold, so that the result will appear in slightly bold and slightly increased font. So this is how it's going to appear. So it is easier for anybody to view that thing. So slightly I'm going to just move it here. Okay, there the result is going to come. Now the next thing is when I click on this compute, I want the result to be shown over here. So I'm going to go to this compute button, and I'm going to double click on this compute button. So when I double click on this button, you are going to see the Visual Basic load for button click event. So this is the button click event. So this is what is going to happen when you click on this button. This event is going to be called. Now there are a few things that you have to do before proceeding, and that is they have asked us to validate the input. So I'm going to write a separate method here. So how do you write a method? So this is the button click event. You have the subroutine and end of the subroutine, and this is the class inside which you have the form. I'm going to just click on this, and I'm going to type here, I'm going to say private, let me say private, and I'm going to say function. I'm going to make it as a function, and I'm going to say validate input. You can type a smaller name for it, but just input. Okay, validate input, and it's going to return a Boolean value. Okay, so I'm going to test whether both the inputs are proper or not. This is what they have said. Check whether the input is empty in that case give the appropriate error message. So I'm going to check for that thing. So I'm going to go with the if statement. So if the first text box dot text, if it is empty, then they said that we are supposed to do something. I can go to my label. If you notice that my last label number 3, which I've used here, that's the label number 3. Here that's the location where all the outputs are going to appear. So I'm going to go to this label 3, and I'm going to say label 3 dot text equal to, and I'm going to say error. Let me say error, error, and I'm going to say first number cannot be blank. Okay, so this is what I'm going to say. That means to say that the first number that you are typing, it cannot be blank. In the same way, I'm going to go for the other options which are there, and that is I am supposed to check for something else. Now I want to return a value whether all the inputs are proper or not. For that I'm going to take a local variable. I'm going to say dim is input okay. So let me, instead of is, I don't want to type too many things. So input okay, I'm going to say is true. So this is what is this, you may ask what is this type. So I assume that all the inputs are correct. Okay, this is my assumption. So right at the beginning I assume that everything that the user has typed is correct, but I'm not going to consider that alone. I'm going to test it. Suppose if there is any violation, for example, if the text box 1.text is blank, then the input is not okay. How do I say that thing? So I have given the label to the user saying that first number cannot be blank. At the same time, I'm going to say input okay is false. So what is the meaning of this? What is the logical meaning of this? So this is my initial assumption that whatever user has typed is correct, but when I check, I find that the whatever user has typed is not correct. So my assumption, initial assumption saying that the input was okay, I'm going to change and say that the user doesn't know how to give the input, so my assumption is false here. So that is the logical meaning. Let me go for the else if. I'm going to go with the else if, and I'm going to say if else if it is a second part of what they have said is I'm supposed to check for non-numeric. So I've checked for the empty and I'm checking for the non-numeric. So if it is not is numeric, this is the function is numeric, text box 1.text. So what does this means? I'm checking whether the text box is numeric. Remember, if it is text box is not empty, then I'm not going to give any error message. Suppose if the text box is not empty, then I check whether is it non-numeric. So how do you say not numeric? If it is not numeric, I'm not going to type this whole thing again. I'm going to control C it and control V it here. So and then I'm going to say error first number is not, I'm going to say is non-numeric. Okay. In the same way, I'm going to go for the last one, else if. What they have said is let's check what is the last thing. They're checking for the negative number. So else if I'm going to say value of text box 1.text, if this value is less than 0, that means negative, then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to give an error message saying that the first number cannot be negative. Okay, so that's it. So this is for the first text box. So here three things are being tested. And what are the three things that you are testing? First one, you are testing whether the input is empty. If it is input is empty, then you check for the non-numeric and then for the negative. So any one can be true. So if the first text box is empty, you say that first text box cannot be blank. If it is non-numeric, then you say it is non-numeric. Otherwise, again you are going to check and say that whether this is negative. So this is what you have done. Now you have to do the same thing for the second text box. So I'm not going to type the whole thing again. I'm going to click here and select this whole thing. Control C to copy, and then I'm going to go down and then press so make some space there and Control V. So I've just pasted it. Now this time it is for the second text box. Remember, there are two text boxes are there. This is the first text box and this is the second text box. We are supposed to validate them. So I'm going to validate the second text box. Wherever the text box 1 is there, I'm going to make it as text box 2 and text box 2. And wherever the first number was there, I'm going to just make it as second. And this is also second and this is also second. That being done, so you have this. So what is this one? So initially you assume that the given input is okay, but as you test it, you find that either the first text box is having a problem or the second text box may have the problem. In any case, you are going to tell the user that what is the status of input okay. So this is what you're going to say. Either the input OK is false if there isn't any error, either in the text box 1 or 2, or if there are no error, input OK will be true. So either you are going to return true or you are going to return false. So in any case, you are going to return something back because it's a function, and you know very well function must return something, and the return value is Boolean. And I have declared it as true. Suppose if you don't like this one, and if you are a old school person, then you can say as Boolean. You can say that, but I don't know whether that really makes sense to you, because the Visual Studio or the Visual Basic itself is intelligent enough to guess what is the value you have given. Suppose if you say dim input okay, input true, it knows that what you are talking about a Boolean variable. However, for those who really didn't get it, you can also say that dim input okay as Boolean and then write it. So both it's like a good student who writes everything. It's like a ordinary student who knows that Visual Basic can forgive silly things. I mean, it is not forgiving. It is Visual Studio can take those kind of decision on its own. Visual Basic, sorry, and it can do it, so you can directly write it. Now let's come back to the scenario here. So when you click on this compute button, what is that you are going to do? First thing, you are going to validate if validate input. So I'm going to say validate input. So that is this method. You took pain in writing this method. This is the method. From where did you get it? This is the method that I'm writing. And here I'm going to validate the input. Remember, if the input is true, that means there is no problem with the first text box and there is no problem with the second text box. If this is the case, then you will start computing the LCM and the GCD and LCM. Otherwise, there is no point in doing anything. So how do you get that thing? So let's declare few variables. I'm going to declare dim it here itself. So dim, I will take the first number as a, b for the first number and the second number, and I'm going to take f first number and the second number. I will tell you why I've taken that the a and b. In the next code, I'm going to just show you why that a and b are really required. And then I have the GCD. I'll take G and L. All of them I'm going to take it as integer. If you really want, you can take it as long, but I'm happy with the integer. Okay. So let me take the first number is the number that is given in the text box 1.text. So whatever that you are going to type in this first text box, That will be the first number as usual. That is obvious one. And what about the second number? Second number is whatever you are going to type it in the second text box. So this is obvious one. So whatever you are going to type in the second text box, that will be the second number. Now I'm going to temporarily use A as the first number, A equal to first number, and B equal to second number. Okay. Now how do you find the LCM and GCD? Okay, see, there are many ways. One is you can use the recursive function to recursively call, but they have not told you that you have to use a recursive or anything. They never told anything. Okay, that means we will go with the simplest one. What is the simplest logic? See, the simplest logic is as follows. Suppose you have two numbers here. Let me take the number. This is number A and this is B. Okay, so I'm going to take A and B. So this is number A and this will be the number B. So let me take the first number as 15 and the second number as 6. Now I have to find the greatest common divisor among both of them. Now you check. Now the idea here is you check which one is greater. If A is greater, you know that 15 is greater than 6. Subtract 6 from this one. So subtract the smallest number from the largest number. So suppose if you subtract it from this, what you're going to get is 9. So how did I get it? 15 minus 6 is 9. So you change A. So A was 15. That was the number that was given to you. A was 15. You take the smaller number and subtract it from the larger number. So the A now is 15 minus 6 is 9. So this A is now changed to 9. Now again compare. You have 9 and 6. Which one is greater? Again 9 is greater. So when 9 is greater, you subtract from 9, you subtract 6. So if you subtract 6 from 9, what is the answer? The answer is 3. Now you see the difference. Now 3 is here and 6 is there on the other side. Which one is greater? So in this case 6 is greater. Yes. So from here, whichever is greater, you subtract the other number. So if A is greater, you subtract B from here. If B is greater, you subtract A from here. So if A is 3 now, 3 minus 6, 6 minus 3 is going to be 3 again. So you have subtracted. Now what you notice here is both of them are same. So when you get both of them are same, that itself is the LCM. And you know very well, 15 and 6, the greatest common divisor is 3. Now let's go with the other example. I'm going to go with one more example. Okay, and let me take the number A and let me take the other number as B. Okay, so let me take this and this. Okay, so let's start with the number 15 and let me take the number 11. And you know very well, in this case both of them does not have anything in common. Okay, so only one will divide these two. There are no divisors. But let's look at this. If A is greater than B, then subtract B from A. 15 is greater than 11, so subtract the 11 from 15. So what is the answer you are going to get? The 15 minus 11 is going to be 4. So I'm going to change A as 4. Now look at here. So which one is greater? B is greater. So subtract from B. So 11 minus 4. So 11 minus 4 is going to be 7, I suppose. Okay. So this is 7. Again, now you have 4 and 7. Which one is greater? Definitely 7 is greater. Subtract 4 from 7. So in this case, remainder is 3. What is remaining is, what is the answer you're going to get is 3. Now compare. 3 is 3 and 4. 4 is greater. Now this time subtract 3 from 4. what is the answer you are going to get? So if you subtract 3 from 4, the answer is going to be 1. Now you, sorry, not a 3. The answer is going to be 1. It is, sorry, this is 1. Okay, 4 minus 3 is 1. Now you notice 1 and 3. Which one is greater? 3 is greater. Subtract 1 from 3. So you are going to get 2 here. Okay, again 2 is greater than 1. Subtract 1 from this one. What you notice? You are going to get the last answer as 1. Now you notice that both A and B are same. When A and B are same, you say either A or B, because it's same, is the GCD. Now one thing you will notice that I started with the number 15. And I constantly change the value of A to 4 and 1 or B to 7 and so on. And that means that my original number I am changing. Okay, so when I do the last calculation, both A and B will be equal. That means I really don't know which was the original number. That is the reason I have stored the first number and second number separately so that I can use it later. So here I am storing it separately, first number and second number. This should have been second number. So first number and second number I'm going to store it separately so that I can use it for later calculation. Otherwise, if I do this calculation, both A and B values are constantly changing. You notice that A is changing from 15 to 4 and 1. B is changing from 11 to 7, 3, 2, and it is changing. So they are like a temporary number. So let me just make it as second number. What is the logic? So the logic is you have to perform something as long as A is not equal to B. So when A becomes equal to B, you are going to stop it. So you notice that finally either you got A equal to 3 or A equal to 1. This is what you are going to get it. So what is the logic? If A is greater than B, then what are you going to say? Then you subtract a new value of A is A minus B. Now look at the logic. If B is greater than A, then you subtract new value of B is B minus A. This is what you are going to say. So if A is greater, then subtract B from A. If B is greater, subtract B from A. At the end, both A and B will become equal, and when they become equal, your GCD will be that A or B, whichever value you want, you take it. This will be your GCD. Okay, I'm going to just put a remark here, GCD. Okay, this, okay, GCD value. You are going to get it. How do you get LCM? Remember, LCM is very simple. Once you get the greatest common divisor, you multiply the two numbers divided by them. So you have the first number, you multiply it with the second number. See, this is a very easiest one. You can try it on your own. So multiply it and first number with the second number, just divide it by the GCD. You get it. Okay. So is it really true if you really want to know it? So remember my first this one was 15 and 6 was there, and during the calculation I got the GCD as 3. Okay, you know very well if I divide, so let me write it like 15 into 6 divided by 3. Okay, 3 goes 2 times, 3, okay, 2 times. So what is 15 into 2? It is going to be 30. And you know very well, both 6 and 15 will divide this 30. So you got the LCM. It's as simple as that. I'm going to just put the remarks just to make you happy that I have written a remark statement. I'm just writing it here. Otherwise, this statement is not really required. Don't get confused. This is a remark statement. This is the LCM value. Okay, this is a remark statement. Don't get confused. Even if you don't write, Visual Studio will not say anything about this. Now, once you have this LCM and GCD value, you are going to print it, and where are you going to print it? This is your label number 3, and you are going to say label number 3 dot text is, I'm going to keep it simple, let's start with the GCD is, and I'm going to concatenate the value of G, and also I'm going to concatenate, I'm going to get it in the next line. So in your which is your favorite C programming language used to write like this /n, it's not going to work here. So instead of this, you have to say VBCR, so VBCR. Okay, so what is this one? Carriage return and line fit. So this is equivalent to your /n in your C program. Okay, so this is that one. Then I'm going to say the next one. This will come in the next line, and LCM is, and I'm going to say L. That's it. You got the answer. I'm going to just remove all the unnecessary spaces that I've just put. Okay, this is it, and this is your program. Let's give it a try, and let's see whether we are able to succeed in getting the LCM and GCD values. Okay. Suppose if I type say 15 and 6, what is your expectation? GCD is 3 and LCM is 30, and as usual I said 15 and 11, and if I say compute, the greatest common divisor is 1, and naturally 15 into 11, look at what you have written here, 15 into 11 divided by 1. Okay. Suppose if I do this one and then say compute, and I'm going to say error. If you want, you can just increase the size, the number cannot be blank. Okay. Suppose if I do this one, instead of this, if I type 1 and then say computer, number is non-numeric. Okay, suppose if I say -5, I really don't know whether this is going to work, and the number cannot be negative. You just make the size, slightly increase the size. So that's it. Only one thing I have not done here is put a reasonably good label here. So instead of just form 1, now this you do it once you complete your work and you don't have any other thing, you can try this during the examination. So you can increase, decreasing size and other things. You can do it once you complete your work. So let me just go to this form and right click on its properties, and I can go to the properties of this form, and I will change the text of this as GCD and LCM. I will just type like that, GCD and LCM. Okay, so that it looks nice. Okay, so this is beautiful now. Okay, type like this 45 and 11, 45 and 9, let's say, and you know very well GCD 9 divides them, and LCM is 45. This is what you are supposed to do it. Thank you for your interest. We will meet again in the next session. Thank you.